Welcome back to Finn versus History.
Oh, bloody hell, he got me in the fanny.
He's gone for it. He's walked down the wicket. Yeah. That's Horatio Gould.
Sorry about that. I regret saying
those were his words.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell, he's got me in a fanny.
Yeah,
which, of course, was
I didn't know how the sentence was going to end, and I wish it didn't end that way.
That was the final words. That was the last words of the first
Mary
victim.
Ann Nichols.
Say her name. Say her name.
Mary Ann Nichols, who was
Believe her.
Yeah, I do believe that you were chopped up by someone.
So this is...
To be honest, it's quite easy to believe women in this scenario.
Believe all women who have been disemboweled.
I think she was being harassed.
Well, listen.
When I see her body, I was like,
listen.
You know what? I believe her when she said she was being harassed.
There's two sides to every story. Let me fill everyone in.
This is one thing that is missing from the discourse is we don't know how annoying these women were being. We don't know, do we?
There's so much about this we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know who Jack the Ripper was.
Yeah.
We don't know how annoying these women were. So,
it's easy to judge now, but we have no idea
how. Yeah, we've had our girlfriends come home drunk. She's telling you about her dreams, and you thought, "I'm going to slit your throat in two places." So, Mary Ann Nichols has been found. Her throat severed by two deep cuts, one of which severed all the tissue down to the vertebrae. Her vagina has been stabbed twice. Her abdomen has been partially ripped open, and her bowels are protruding. The police are treating this as suspicious.
There's something going on.
Which for them, at this point in time, is actually, that's quite astute.
Yeah, there's something fishy going on in East End of London, and it's not the guys using fish intestines as condoms.
No, Officer William Thicke has been, that doesn't look right.
There's something about
this woman that's asleep on the floor that seems thoroughly weird. So Mary Ann Nichols has been at a bottomless brunch all day and has ended up with quite the headache.
Yeah.
She's been completely disemboweled.
Yeah, she's been hit for six.
She's been hit for six. Jack the Ripper.
She's been absolutely done.
Jack the Ripper's a sort of middle order batsman, very destructive.
He's done you there, love.
He's done you, love. I'll tell you what.
There's no two ways about it.
Many people walk past the body thinking, he's fucking done you there, love. You've been absolutely done in you, again, attitude's very different at Victorian London. Mary Ann Nichols is a prostitute in the Victorian sense, which means she is a woman. Nowadays, we would say that she's
a drunk woman.
She's
drunk. Working class.
Nowadays, we'd say drunk and she's working class, but then they'd say that's a prostitute.
Yeah.
And William Thicke's on the case. Big Thicko,
Don't
police
worry,
officer.
we got Thicke on the case.
He's got this sewn up.
Yeah.
So now the press report this murder, but obviously there's been a prostitute's been murdered in East London. It's like page 8.
Yes, but the manner of the killing, the fact she's been disemboweled, that is unusual.
That is unusual. Yeah.
And I think it's either this one or the next one. Annoyingly, I can't remember. There's a leather apron found next to her body,
right?
Which is they then start calling the killer Leather Apron. That's the early doors.
Yeah, which is a pretty shit nickname.
Yes.
Now that we know the killer is Jack the Ripper, that nickname is much better than the Leather Apron.
Yeah, I know, but you're riffing. You're hot on the case. You can't think of something good immediately. It needs to, Then
they call her the aproner or the tanner or something like that.
And then, one of the suspects is a bloke with a leather apron. It's like, you'd feel pretty fucked off.
It's the second murder, which is a week later, where the press really start to kick off. And we should talk about the press, because I guess one of the interesting things in the Jack the Ripper instance is it's the first time there's really a sort of bad taste tabloid industry.
Which hasn't left this country as well. We're still probably the worst for it.
I think we have the worst tabloids. Yeah, exactly.
And it all started here.
If Prince Harry was around in these days, my God, he'd be wanging on about it.
Shreds,
he'd be wanging on about it.
But it's kind of like it's the birth of all this stuff because of some law enacted that basically a lot more working class people are getting educated.
Because of some law.
Some law.
Some mad law.
In the 1880s, there's this Education Act where basically literacy is on the rise more than it's ever been anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So you can basically mass sell newspapers to working class people.
But they're picture books.
Yes.
In that there's genuinely a newspaper called the Illustrated Police News,
right?
Which is the front page is just essentially cartoons of dead women.
Right, brilliant. Yeah.
So that the EastEnders can read it.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, for this podcast, we use incredibly clickbaity thumbnails because that's the nature of YouTube and the algorithm. You know, we're in a lineage of this. Instead of having a clickbaity Mr. Beast style thumbnail saying, Hitler sucked off who?
Yeah.
That what they would do is they'd stand on street corners saying, you know, prostitute got chopped in half.
The Illustrated Police News, as you can see, it's basically just a cartoon strip.
Yep.
And they start drawing crime scene photos, really.
Yep. And also photography is just starting like the 1860s, 70s, so that's kind of new as well.
I have a theory. I think part of the reason why people don't... Because there's been this whole culture war around Jack the Ripper recently. So there was a book written in 2019 called The Five.
Yes.
By a historian called Hayley Rubenstahl.
Oh, yeah. Was that on the History Hit podcast where you listened to her talk about it?
Yeah. But every podcast talks about this now because she basically is credited with changing the narrative of who was Jack the Ripper to who cares, let's talk about the women.
Yes.
And the funny response to that is going, well, they were prostitutes, let's get back to finding out who
But what was funny was hearing her talk about it. So her big thing was like, we'll never find out who Jack the Ripper is. Let's use this opportunity to find out these lives of working class women that you'd never normally hear about as a way of really like making the time period feel much more alive. What was funny is that the Ripperologists and the Jack the Ripper community, being some of the biggest losers in the world, the response to someone trying to tell the stories of the victims, it's like a D&D guy, and suddenly someone's
boring.
Your dungeon master has brought his girlfriend along, and he's the first bloke in the group to have a girlfriend. And now whenever she discusses maybe there should be like an elf woman, you're like, well, why didn't you shut up?
Because elves can't be women. They're a single sex.
No, it doesn't work. This made-up world that we make up every time we play the game, actually women can't have ears.
James Bond's actually white. He's a white character, so why would you ever get a black guy to play him? It doesn't make sense. It's like having a dwarf James Bond. It doesn't make sense.
And her talking on this podcast, talking about how much abuse she's getting from the Ripper community.
Well, again, they're talking about her in the Victorian sense.
Exactly.
In that she's a woman talking on a podcast, so she must be a prostitute.
But it's so funny. I feel there's a lot that you learn from this period about how awful, how badly women are treated. It's so funny that people who are obsessed with this period.
Cut in half.
Are still treated.
I think I got a sense of that just from the overview. 5 women who weren't prostitutes, but they're called that on police reports, have been cut in half.
Yeah, on the spectrum of maybe like the Aziz Ansari case on Me Too, which was like a bad day.
Yeah.
I think the other end.
If he's getting dragged into this, that really has gone too far. Yeah.
Well, I think she was the 6th victim, you know.
Oh, what, the woman on the Aziz Ansari date? Yeah.
The woman had an awkward date with Aziz Ansari.
He shoved his tongue down my throat. Well... Do you know what? He's Jack the Ripper.
At least you still got your tongue.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. But the press are essentially, you know, the
press are having a field day. It's probably never more apt than this.
Yeah, but also
the press have never had more of a field day ever.
No, apart from maybe when David Beckham wore a sarong.
Yeah.
It's like a close second to Jack the Ripper, I think. But I must say, people are ready for it. People are gagging for it. People are up for, you know, as I said in the last episode, the rich West Londoners are going into the East End to retrace the footsteps. As you said, there are walking tours.
After the second murder, which we'll get onto, there's already walking tours. It's
crazy.
During Jack the Ripper that this industry starts.
Let's get on to the second murder. Yeah. This is a week later.
Annie Chapman.
September the 8th. Say her name.
Annie
Chapman. Newspapers.
Annie Chapwoman, what I call her.
Yes, Annie Chapwoman. Yeah. To give her a proper
Herstory.
name. Yeah.
This is a Herstory.
This is a Finn versus Herstory. That is a different show. So, Saturday the 8th of September, 1888, the body of Annie Chapman discovered at approximately 6 a.m. near the steps to the doorway of the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Now, Hanbury Street is...
in Spitalfields.
Pretty much just off Brick Lane, right?
Yes. Yeah. And do you know down Brick Lane, you know that inside... it's near that vintage place where we got a lot of these suits, right?
Yeah.
You know the street food market that's inside?
Yes. Yeah, I know that.
By, I think, like the Korean, the Tibetan dumpling stand is where her body was found. So,
as in the case of Nichols, the throat is severed by 2 deep cuts, abdomen cut entirely open.
That's his big one. That's the consistency of all the canonical murders.
It's a seppuku.
Yeah.
It's a...
Yeah.
It's like you make a door out of your tummy and then you open the door. Oh,
yeah, he's a weeb. He's
knock,
into
knock,
anime.
Hello, and then all your guts fall out.
The Japanese do it to themselves because they find everything dishonourable.
Sorry, I'm just saying that the evidence for this being a Japanese woman is mounting.
But the reason why you commit seppuku or harikiri is because you have dishonoured yourself, right?
Yes.
So much dishonour.
Yeah.
But when he's doing it, it's because the women have dishonoured themselves.
Yes, of course.
Does a harikiri to them.
He harikiris them. So, Annie Chapman's had her abdomen completely cut open.
She's at the found in the food market in Brick Lane.
Yeah, so just by the, what was it?
I think it's like that
Tibetan
kind of
dumplings?
Yeah, the kind of, yeah.
So people are kind of stepping over her body to get their lunch and then go back to their graphic design job.
She's still there.
She's still there just with a quote.
That's what shocked me on the Ripper tour, is that they haven't moved the body
They haven't moved the body. Amazing, isn't it? They haven't moved the bodies. And her stomach has been put on her left shoulder.
Yep.
And another section, like her small intestine, is on her right shoulder.
Right.
So this is kind of a Marina Abramovich style. Like, what's he saying?
Yes. Okay. So
what's he saying with this?
Well, I think the question is about how unrealistic body image. I think in the media, how women's they're implied to eat. They're encouraged to eat below what people would expect them to.
Yeah. So he's a plus size campaigner.
Yeah.
These are protest murders.
He's saying the society's setting unrealistic body standards, saying that women shouldn't fill their stomachs as much as they should.
Nothing is more unrealistic than walking around with your small intestine over your right shoulder. That's just not practical.
Yeah.
Autopsy also revealed her uterus and sections of her bladder and vagina had been removed. I mean, where have they gone? Is my question. Are they at the crime scene? What's William Thicke doing with this?
Yeah.
What's Billy Thicke is on the scene again? Yeah. So the inquest into Chapman's murder, she's seen standing outside the food court at about 5:30 a.m. in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat. Now that could have happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Because there's still those cunts at Brick Lane.
Could be Sherlock Holmes.
Chapman's killed 8th of September, and then the press
go into overdrive.
Well, it
becomes this public inquiry where everyone's trying to find out who it could possibly be.
Yeah.
This Jewish guy called John Pied or Pieces or something like that has a leather apron, so everyone thinks it's him.
Yeah.
He's a butcher as well, because the killer needs to have some anatomical understanding to creatively put an entire stomach on a woman's shoulder.
Well, does he? I reckon I could do that. I mean,
they do always say that. They do always say that he showed a lot of like anatomical skill. But I think if you're just fucking going hell for leather,
if you've got a knife and you're cutting a woman open and you're putting a stomach on her shoulder, I don't think what a genius.
So is he a fine artist?
Yeah.
We need to find who painted the Sistine Chapel, because
he must be a surgeon. Surgeons are famously putting intestines on people's shoulders and then they're leaving. Oh, have you got in for a bit of surgery? Yeah, it's just keyhole actually. Yeah. Just having my intestine put on my right shoulder.
And now because people want fame, because you can sell your story to the press.
Yeah.
Talking about a crime scene, they've completely fucked the crime scene, right? Because
William Thicke's on the case. Yeah. And he's just dribbled over the crime scene.
A lot of people saying they've done it. A lot of people saying who they think has done it. But this letter comes through. Well,
the story is dying down is the key thing, because this is like 2 weeks past,
right? And
the story is dying down. Yeah. But then, as you say,
the Dear Boss letter comes, which is a letter written in red ink, in a way that a lot of Ripper people would write, like Ripper fans. And that's where he signs it Jack the Ripper.
Right.
And that's where the Jack the Ripper comes from.
Now, why Ripper? As in what? Is he because he's ripped them open?
I guess so.
Is he misspelt raper? Like, what's the?
I think it's because he ripped them open.
Right. Okay.
What's interesting about this letter is he does say that he's going to clip the ears of his next victim.
Right.
And they are clipped when it happens.
Are they?
Which makes you think it would be like that, right? And he also says, but then in the next letter that comes afterwards, there's also, which has completely different handwriting.
Yeah.
They say there's going to be a kidney, the right kidney will be removed, and it is. Mm-hmm. But potentially they might know information before,
So the Dear Boss letter happens. This is when Jack the Ripper becomes a thing. Yep. And then 3 days after this letter, which hits the press, which causes them to kind of go crazy again. Yeah. Bang, bang. 2 women.
This is the big night.
2 towers, 9/11.
Now, this is my favourite one, actually, this third one here.
The 2 women?
Elizabeth Stride.
Swedish. She's Swedish.
Swedish.
Yeah.
We don't know loads about her.
She's a prostitute.
That's all we do.
She's a Swedish prostitute.
So this was outside a pub in Whitechapel. The cause of death was a single clear-cut incision measuring 6 inches across her neck. But basically, she's the least mutilated, right? And she is found by a bloke coming into the pub.
The Swedes have it good, don't they?
Yeah. Found by a bloke coming into the pub. He sees this woman outside the pub, face down, steps over her because he thinks, oh, that's probably my wife pissed again. Right? He walks into the pub, sees his wife at the bar, and then goes, well, what the fuck? And then goes back out, realizes it's a dead body. They all gather around. It's like 5-10 minutes old.
Wow.
So he literally... If he probably looked another direction, he probably would have seen Jack the Ripper running off into the distance. But because he's like a face-down woman, that's probably my wife, steps over her to go to the bar. Yeah. I mean, that sums up what it is like to be in the East End of London. Yeah. You see a woman face down and go, that's probably my wife, and then step over.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're really... There's a level of misogyny in the Victorian East End that... really contributes to
what's that like? Explain that to your wife when you go in and see that she's pissed, but she's behind the bar.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Oh, I thought you were.
Hang on, I thought you were face down outside.
Well, then why didn't you help me up?
Yeah. I was going to get a drink. Yeah.
Like, surely that still leads to an argument when it's like...
Oh, can you imagine the way home? What, even if you thought it was me, you thought I'm bleeding out, you're not going to help me up? No. I thought you'd done it yourself, you stupid old cow. I was going to get a pint. Because he'll think he's a hero. That's the funny thing, is that he'll be like, I discovered a body. And then she'll be like, well, you thought it was your wife.
So the reason why people think it's not as complicated as the other ones, there's a chance that he didn't do this one because it doesn't have all the other trimmings. And by trimmings, I mean shoulder
foot on shoulder.
Stomach pon de shoulder.
Stomach pon de shoulder.
Doesn't have intestines pon de shoulder.
You got to get your intestines pon de shoulder, your kidney pon shoulder.
M. Rasser is a suspect in this case.
Yeah, because he's cutting women's foot off and putting them on the shoulder.
He's splitting a pussy in two half.
Yep, with a knife. Christ. Oh dear.
So yeah, he's potentially Jamaican, this guy.
Yeah.
Japanese woman, Jamaican man, we don't know.
It's one of the two. There's either a Japanese woman who's still at large,
bust a pussy open,
or there's a Jamaican man busting women's pussies open.
Put the intestines pon the shoulder.
Cutting them big batty gyals open on the streets of London. So, but this is probably why she's not mutilated as much, is because it's outside a pub and needs to run away.
But basically, probably the coach pulled up, because he'd actually come from a long day at work, I think, and then come to the pub.
Yeah.
And then he'd scarpered.
Then he kills Catherine Eddowes, and he goes to town on her, does he?
Yeah. So basically, this one is the only one that actually takes place in the old City of London, and that's why the City of London police get involved. Yeah. Because still, they have their own police force for some reason. Yeah. Right. Basically, Saint Buldov's Church. What is it? What's the church called? Saint Buldov. We'll probably want a picture of it. Basically, there was a church that was called Prostitute Island. Right.
A church?
Yeah, a church called Prostitute Island.
Right.
Because
that's what I call Love Island.
No, don't type in prostitute. Type in Saint Buldov is what you do. You don't type in Prostitute Island.
My wife's watching Prostitute Island again.
I just want to see if it's Saint Buldov's Church, right? So it's still there now. Botolph's. Sorry, Saint Botolph's Church.
Cut a bot off.
Big Batty's
Church. No. It's in Big Batty's Church.
It's Prostitute's Island.
Prostitute Island.
So it was just like a kind of a area of town where there's a lot of prostitution happening. But the rule is you're not allowed to linger outside a church and do prostitution. So they'd circle the church, and that's why it was called Prostitute Island. because it was just like this ring of prostitutes just walking constantly.
I mean, you had to like a sushi train, and you had to just pick one.
It was like Yo Sushi.
And they had like yellow plates.
Because if they stopped, then the police would arrest them.
Wow.
So the fact that because they could just be on their way home.
So they're just lapping a church.
They're just lapping a church.
And they've got like yellow shoes if they're like a bit syphilitic.
Yeah.
And then blue shoes, like a bluefin tuna. You're like, well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because there was a directory of prostitutes called, what was it called?
Yellow Pages?
Basically, there was a Yellow Pages for prostitutes in London. It was called something's list of Covent Garden ladies.
Oh, right.
This is back in the Regency period. Right. So, but there was basically...
With pictures...
Like essentially 118, but
like, how long ago was this picture taken?
Genuinely, it's a directory.
You're going to meet a 25-year-old. She's 90 years old. Yeah. It's like you have to change the photo.
Harris list of Covent Garden ladies,
right.
And so this is about 100 years previously.
Yeah.
But this was basically if you wanted a prostitute, you'd buy essentially Yellow Pages,
right.
And it would have them like how syphilitic they are,
right.
What their sort of sexual ability is. Whether
like how syphilitic they are, because there'll be like a level where she's quite syphilitic, but I am quite horny.
Yeah,
like you have to really do a bit of pros and cons.
They've all got syphilis,
so it's just a scale. It's a spectrum.
In 1880s London, prostitutes likely had a noticeable body odour due to the poo sanitation of the time, with the prevalent smell likely being a mix of sweat, unwashed clothes, the general city stink caused by inadequate sewage systems, horse manure, and industrial waste.
Now, I don't think the researchers on The Rest is History do this, because Charlie produces 2 of the podcasts I'm on, and is one of the maddest internet searchers ever. How did prostitutes smell in 1880s London? How do you think they smelled, Charlie? Why are we typing this in? We're talking about a lot of different things. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can bring up.
To make this vivid for the listener.
And you're typing in, how does an 19th century prostitute smell? Bad. I can tell. Ask me. I'll tell you. Clearly bad. We don't need research on it. We don't need primary sources. We know how they smell. They smell terrible. Anyway, he basically picked her up from the Yo Sushi chain of prostitutes.
Big Batty's Church.
Right. And because also, I think, so what was her name? Catherine Eddowes. I think she was in the clink for prostitution.
Yeah.
Right. And she was let out like a day early.
Oh,
right? So if she wasn't, she would be alive. But she was let out and she went straight back to the prostitute sushi train.
Yep.
Right.
Oh yeah. So just talking about this is the Harris's catalogue of prostitutes that used to get Miss Clickamp of number 2 York Street near Middlesex Hospital is described as one of the finest, fattest figures. Was fully finished for fun and frolic as fertile fancy ever formed. Fortunate for the true lovers of fat, should fate throw them into the possession of such full-grown beauties.
The jauntiness of the misogyny in this era is really quite fun.
Well, we should do something about the Regency period because it's so funny how it's such a sharp U-turn in British life, in that the Georgians, the 1700s, everyone's gay.
Everyone's gay. They're chasing each other around with big skirts.
Yeah, it's gay,
they're spanking
fat,
each other. They're doing like
makeup.
beauty spots.
Men are wearing makeup,
Yeah.
pumpy, fat. Everyone's fat. And then the Victorians are, you have to be a strong man. You don't cry.
Yeah.
If you're a woman who's not married, you're a prostitute. The sin. It's. I mean, it kind of alternates, doesn't it? Because you've got the Civil War, Cromwell, Protectorate, boring. Then
you got the Restoration.
Everyone's gay. Everyone's fat.
Yeah.
Snap back to Victorian. Don't cry. Buckle up. Get away, you whore.
Yeah.
And then you have the 60s. Everyone's fat. Everyone's a prostitute.
Yeah.
And now it's the end. You had what? It's kind of we're still at the tail end of that, really. Aren't they? Everyone's got blue hair and's fat.
But then it's probably going to swing. It's probably going to swing back to conservative.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, bloody hope so.
I bloody hope so. Right.
So then she went down to Mitre Square.
Eddowes is back on the sushi train.
Mm-hmm.
She's immediately picked up
by Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper.
And as I said before, a lot of these prostitutes won't have rooms or won't have brothels, so they will just do it in a darkened alley, up against a wall.
Yeah.
So
they're real goers, these women.
Yes. Yep. So they go to Mitre Square, which is now where a school is.
Disgraceful.
So she died in what is now
a
playground.
I can't believe they built a school and then bodied that prostitute.
And this is...
They've got blue plaques, these women. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, just where they were murdered. There's a blue plaque.
Well, we passed it. So we on the Ripper tour, we went to Mitre Square.
Absolutely crazy.
Mitre Square's kind of been knocked down. It's not really exists as a square anymore, but it was one of the most seedy squares in London, right? And it's completely black at this point, pitch black. And what I don't understand is how he managed to do so much ripping her intestines out, all in pitch black.
Listen, the guy is not a fucking artist.
Yeah,
he's just got a sharp knife and a woman. That's all he's doing.
And so she's one of the worst. How she's treated. She
really?
She's chopped in 2 halves.
Genuinely.
So it's like down from her neck all the way to her vagina is cut in half.
Right.
Pretty much. And there's a drawing of it just there. If you scroll down on the right, Charlie, you see that. So yeah. Big slice down the middle.
Yeah.
And
Charlie didn't know about any of this.
A Bobby on the beat,
Yep.
who I don't know his name.
PC thick.
Yeah, sorry, PC dumb cunt.
PC dumb cunt is on the beat.
Finds
hello,
her.
Hello. What's going on here then?
Immediately blows his whistle, right?
Yeah.
And then in Mitre Square, another policeman lives, right? And was about to go on his beat, right? Comes out and goes, "This is fucking man. I was at home and like a couple of yards away from my window, Jack the Ripper has just been mutilating this woman in a public square."
Yeah. But after the double murder, this is when the press go into overdrive. And this is where you would say that the public really don't help the police investigation.
No, why?
Because they start writing fake letters saying it's me. They then also, bear in mind, the commissioner is just still obsessed with dogs at this point. He's still trying to bang up XL bullies.
Well, we've got one problem at a time.
Yeah,
is my opinion.
Let's sort the dog problem out, and then we'll get to these women. We'll get to that, please. So they're then basically saying the Met are fucking stupid. They're just concentrating on dogs. Yeah. There's like East End vigilante commission is formed, and
because it's not really being policed properly. So people are just starting their own community watch.
And then the papers are like slating the police and like saying these vigilantes are good.
Because this one happened to the City of London, the City of London police is competitively trying to get all the glory. They want to solve it. So none of them are sharing any information with each other.
But they're telling the press stuff that the Met don't want out there.
Yeah.
The only bit of evidence is found from the double murder. There's 2 things, right? There's the graffiti, which is it says the Jews are the men who will not be blamed for nothing.
Yes.
Which, as graffiti goes, doesn't make any fucking sense.
Makes no sense.
It's a double negative.
Yeah.
So you're saying the Jews are blameless?
Yeah, well, that's what makes it could be that obviously they're not the most literate people. It could be an illiterate Jew trying his best to stop Jews getting blamed for stuff.
Yeah.
Or it could be an illiterate anti-Semite trying to blame the Jews for everything.
Yeah.
Either way, they both fucked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't know if he's blaming the Jews or it's saying everyone blames the Jews, it's not us.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a bit of her shawl or something was found near it.
There was a bit of
apron.
A bit of shawl with some blood on it.
Yeah.
But what they do is the police find the graffiti and they go, if people wake up and see this, there's going to be a fucking pogrom. They're going to kick off because there's a lot of anti-Jewish sentiment there anyway because it's a period in history.
Yeah.
So
because it's happened.
Because it's happened and everyone's alive. So they decide to clean they don't even take a photo of it. All we know is that they write it down.
Yeah, spelled Jews wrong.
They spelled Jews wrong. I mean, they're completely. I mean, everyone's thick as well at this point.
Yeah.
They clean it off. But that's potentially evidence.
Yeah, so they don't know what they could have analysed handwriting and stuff. So there's been recreations of it, but there's no.
So I mean, Jack the Ripper could be like a sort of anti-Israel, like protest murders.
Yeah.
If he wrote that,
but he's writing like he's an LBC caller.
Yeah, well again, that's exactly my point.
This is someone who calls into James O'Brien.
No, I'm not being funny, right? I'm not being funny.
The Jews will not be blamed for nothing, but the Jews do.
The Jews are not being blamed for nothing. They're not.
James are not. It's like a Cornish farmer calling in James O'Brien.
Yeah.
But no way that the Jews are tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what you mean.
No, I don't know what you mean actually.
The Jews will not be blamed for nothing.
Sort your grammar out, Johnny from Cornwall. That's what James O'Brien would do in a sort of slightly smug way.
Right. You're an
so
idiot.
you're saying the Jews.
So let me get this right. What you're saying is, and have you read the Fisheries Act of 1988? No, I didn't think so. You fucking idiot. That's what I love about James O'Brien, especially. I mean, he gets stupid callers, obviously, but it's funny when he's like testing them on like really intense detail.
Have you read the?
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah. Well, maybe call back. We're doing a bit of reading actually.
Yeah. And can we get the Dear Hell letter up now? So that's what happens after this.
So there's another letter, but the letters are being sent in by anyone who's
but these are the two big ones.
But
they're all been proved as hoax, pretty much.
But this is the start of fucking LBC, isn't it? It's people writing into papers about stuff they know nothing about.
Modern life is not that different to now. Is what's coming across.
What's the From Hell letter then?
So the From Hell letter, also known as the List letter, was a letter sent with half of a preserved human kidney to George Lusk, the chairman of the Whitechapel Vigilante Community. The author of this letter claimed to be an unidentified serial killer known as Jack the Ripper, who had murdered and mutilated at least 4 women. So this is, between the double murders is the Dear Hell.
So this is in
Dear
October.
Boss and the From Hell letter. All right, so should we read the letter?
Yeah,
From Hell. Mr. Lusk, saw, I send you half the kidney I took from...
We got to do it in the accent. So it's From Hell. Mr. Lusk, saw, I send you half the kidney I took from one woman, preserved it for you, tougher piece I fried and ate it. Was very nice, very nice. I may send you the bloody niff that took it out if you only what a wee longer. So...
Signed.
Signed.
Catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk.
Yeah. So...
From Hell.
Yeah. I mean, that could be one of the police officers. It sounds like...
It could be. I mean, it could be... It does sound like the guy who wrote the graffiti, though.
Yeah, PC Thick. It does sound like the guy who wrote the graffiti. Actually,
Sorry, now that was actually brilliant. Can we read the Dear Boss letter now?
Quite long, this one.
Yeah.
Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them till I get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I'll save some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with it, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fitting off, I hope. Ha ha! The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly, wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it a cut straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get the chance. Good luck, yours truly, Jack the Ripper.
Right, so these are clearly written by 2 different people, right? Because there's a slightly different... Like the person afterwards...
Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it. No luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now.
Yeah, well, it's just one of our YouTube comments, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially the first comment, isn't it? It's the first internet comment. Makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. The From Hell letter was written in human blood, by the way.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. But this one was in red ink.
Right, I see.
Did he then clip the next victim?
Well, that's interesting. The next victim did have clipped ears.
So does that mean that this is genuinely...
No, because a lot of them, it's like, there's a one piece of evidence that's like, oh, it's definitely him. And then, I don't know, it's just, I don't think this is him. Or at least the Ripperologists think they're both press hoaxes.
Right.
And maybe Ripper read it. And he was clipping a lot of the body.
But this is the birth of Reddit.
Yeah.
It's the birth of subculture, of like the whole internet sleuthing.
Yeah.
This is the most annoying people in the world getting fascinated and trying to like, I'll solve it. You know,
but also saying that the ears are going to be clipped, her whole body's chopped to pieces.
She's clapped.
Yeah.
She's fucking clapped, mate.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure her ears were clipped.
A stop clock is right twice a day. And one of these caught, I'm going to cut her arse out. Yeah, she's got no arse. The guy's cut her to shit.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean you predicted it.
And then the From Hell letter, remember there was just the right kidney missing from the 4th murder, and he sent her right kidney.
So he said he fried the other half and ate it,
Yeah.
and he sent him half a kidney.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I couldn't identify half
Yeah.
a kidney. I couldn't tell if it's right or left.
Right.
I couldn't.
But, I mean, they got people who can.
Right,
so
okay, fine,
you're not doing it.
No, you're right, sorry. Thank God.
There are people who can do that.
Right, fine. Okay, fine. I'm just saying I'd be absolutely useless in this investigation. I wouldn't know what to do. I'm that guy stepping over the dead body because he thinks it's his wife. That's me.
Probably my wife.
Mary Jane Kelly.
Yes.
The 5th canonical victim.
Who's probably got the most interesting backstory, Mary Jane Kelly. I mean, not a lot's known about...
I mean, her front story is fucking horrific. Just looking at that picture, I'd say she's got very little front story.
Right.
I'd say her backstory seems to be fairly intact. Her front is absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
So this is the only crime
To be
scene.
fair, he got the better of you that night.
1-0 Jack. Yeah,
Right,
5-0
Charlie, get
maybe.
back on it.
Charlie, let's get rid of that photo.
Please.
There's a lot going on there. Oh, fucking hell, mate.
Did he shag them?
Yes, he did.
Does he? We don't know that.
Yeah, there's a sign of sexual assault.
No.
Well, yeah,
Are you
but
sure?
Well, there's sexual assault, and I mean, listen, it's all sexual assault. But
Well, I don't know when he shagged him, but there is cum on in the scene and stuff.
Well, he could have cut him and then come on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call him a prude when it comes to rape.
Okay, fine, yeah. No, he's not a good guy. I'm not trying to defend him.
So the interesting story about Mary Jane Kelly is that she might have been like a high society prostitute as well, or like been a lady at some point. Of like, obviously not a lady, but she was like, she's lived quite a life basically, and was quite charismatic and loved in the area.
Yeah,
the most attractive of the lot apparently.
Not from this.
And a real character.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now, she was found off Dorset Street in this Miller's Court, right? Mm-hmm. Dorset Street was the most violent street in London, apparently. If you walked down Dorset Street and you weren't a local, you would have been beaten up, mugged, and probably killed.
Right.
It's one of those brutal streets in London. And she was staying actually what was known as the worst room in London. Right. Individual room, obviously sleeping on a rope's worse than this.
It sounds like you're getting ready to blame her for her demise. On the most violent street, sleeping in the worst room.
It was known as the worst room in London, and
right.
It's on the bottom floor. And there's basically, she was last heard singing, because I guess it's the East End of London, so, and you didn't have...
Everyone's singing.
Yeah, you don't really have TikTok, so she'd come back from the pub and she was in her room and the neighbours heard her doing sing-song.
Fucking hell.
For like until like 1:30. She'd love singing.
So that's like you being in bed on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, you have nothing else to do.
She's just like, oh,
if you're in bed, you probably would just, if you've got nothing to do, you probably would just start going, and then I went to the sea and I said I don't want to be.
God, it's so crap, isn't it?
It's rubbish.
Yeah.
The singing stops at 1:30.
She probably would have felt this as an absolute relief.
The singing stopped at 1:30, right?
Yep.
And I guess the reason why this is by far the most thorough,
I'd say Jack the Ripper was robust in this case.
Is because this is the only one done indoors.
Oh, right.
So
interesting.
He knew he wasn't going to be disturbed.
Okay.
So should we talk about what happened to... Do you want to read what happened to her?
Sure. Extensively mutilated and disemboweled body of Mary Jane Kelly discovered lying on the bed in the single room where she lived. As we've said, bad room. Her face had, quote, been hacked beyond all recognition. Her throat severed down to the spine. Abdomen almost emptied of its organs. Right. Uterus, kidneys, one breast.
He's not a monster.
Her uterus, kidneys, and one breast had been placed beneath her head, and her other viscera from her body placed beside her foot. About the bed, and sections of her abdomen and thighs upon a bedside table. The heart was missing from the crime scene.
So he took that as...
He took that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fairly comprehensive. A robust dismissal of Mary Jane Kelly.
This is Germany 7-1 Brazil.
Yeah, this is getting uploaded to Pornhub as a Brazilian team getting fucked by a German.
She's absolutely been... She's been destroyed here.
Completely done in.
And then there's his handprints on the wall, I think.
In blood.
Yeah. And stuff like that, but obviously they don't check that.
This is also the only... crime scene photo of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, it was the first crime scene photo ever taken.
Is it?
Yeah, this is the first time they've ever done this kind of birth of all that stuff as well.
Because they're sort of thinking we're 4-0 down here. We've got to try and change our tactics. The police are thinking, why don't we take a photo of them as it's just happened?
Yeah. As opposed to dragging them to a morgue,
clean them up, putting them a hat on them, and then making them look like my father-in-law on Christmas Day.
So we will talk. There's a really interesting suspect that comes out from this, but we'll talk about that in the suspects episode next week.
So the next episode is going to be on the suspects of Jack the Ripper. Yep. That episode is already on the Patreon.
Mm-hmm. And if you're Jack the Ripper listening to this, please message in.
Yep.
We'd love to have a chat.
Yep. Let's bring you in from the cold.
Yeah, I think it's time that you turn yourself in.
Yeah, it's been long enough. I know who you are.
Yeah.
And all I'll say is konnichiwa. We're gonna get
I know who you are. And all I can say is hello there.
Hello there. Breda. Yeah. We'll text M. Dot in the break and get him in for Get him
to
in
translate with Jack the Ripper.
Translate with real Jack the Ripper.
Jack
Maybe it's Jack the Rapper.
the Rapper.
Maybe it's Jack the Rapper. Anyway, that's on the Patreon. £3 a month. You get access to every series early, and you get a bonus episode. But either way, thank you so much.
If you're trying to work out, we're going to talk about who we think it is and who the suspects are next week.
We'll be ruling some people out as well. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.